Some people learn life through books, some through work. But for him, one sentence changed everything. He thought love was enough, until one day he learned the truth. This is the story of how a simple boy began to grow, one small step at a time. Let's begin.
I am an old man now. My hair is grey, and my face has many lines, but I still remember my teenage years very clearly. I often think about that time. Those days were difficult for me, but they taught me many things. When I was young, I believed life should be easy. I didn't want a normal job or a busy life. I thought people worked too much and forgot how to live. I didn't want that life. I wanted slow mornings, quiet afternoons, and calm nights. I liked watching the sky, walking in the park, and listening to music. I believed that love and freedom were enough for a good life. People told me I needed to grow up. They said life was not simple, and that I must work to live. But I didn't listen. I smiled and said I was happy without stress. I didn't want a big house or a new car. I didn't want to chase money. I only wanted to enjoy my days and do the things I loved. I believed this was the best way to live. Most of my days were quiet and slow. I woke up late and made simple meals. I read books, wrote in a notebook, and listened to old songs. I enjoyed the silence and the soft wind outside. I often sat by the window and watched people walk past. I didn't feel sad or alone. I thought I had everything I needed. I felt proud of my simple life. One sunny afternoon, I met someone special. She was sitting alone on a bench in the park. Her eyes were brown and her smile was gentle. She looked kind and peaceful. I said hello and we began to talk. We talked for a long time. It felt natural. I told her about my life and my dreams. She listened quietly. I wanted to meet her again. For the next few days, I thought about her a lot. Her voice, her smile, and the way she listened stayed in my mind. I smiled for no reason. I walked in the same park, hoping to see her again. I started to imagine a future with her. I believed she could understand me. I believed this could be something real. Then I called her, and she agreed to meet again. I felt nervous but happy. I wore my cleanest clothes and combed my hair. I arrived early and waited on the same bench. She came after a few minutes. We smiled, and everything felt right. I thought this could be the beginning of something beautiful. I was ready to share my heart. We sat together and talked again. I told her I liked her and wanted to know her better. I said I didn't have a job or much money, but I had love and time. She looked at me kindly but didn't smile. She said, "You are a nice person, but love is not enough. A home, a car, and a job are also part of life." Her words hit me like cold wind. I stayed silent. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed and looked at the ceiling. Her words repeated in my mind again and again. I began to think deeply about my life. I had always felt free and proud, but now I wasn't sure. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe love alone wasn't enough to build a future. I closed my eyes, but my heart felt heavy. The next morning, I walked outside with a sad heart. The sky was blue, but I didn't feel light. I kept thinking about her words. I had always believed that love was the most important thing, but now I wasn't sure. I looked at the people on the street. Everyone was going somewhere. Maybe they knew something I didn't. Maybe I had missed something in life. I went to the same park where we first talked. I sat on the same bench and closed my eyes. I tried to feel the peace I used to feel, but now it was different. Her words stayed with me like a shadow. "Love is not enough," she had said. Was she right? I didn't want to change who I was, but I also didn't want to be alone forever. I started thinking about the things I had refused before. I never wanted an office job. I never wanted to wake up early or wear a suit. But now I wondered, was it really so bad? Could I still be myself and also be responsible? Could I make a life with someone if I had nothing to give? These questions stayed in my mind. I walked home slowly. My room felt smaller than before. My books, my music, my quiet moments, these things were still there, but they didn't feel the same. I opened my notebook and read my old notes. They were full of dreams and ideas, but now they felt light and far away. I closed the book and sat in silence for a long time. That evening, I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw a man with big dreams and a good heart, but also a man with no plan. I touched my hair and gave a small smile. Maybe it was time to try something different. Not for her, not for anyone else, but for myself. I didn't want to live with questions. I wanted to see if I could change and still stay true to who I was. The next day I made a list. It was a simple list with small steps. Get a small job, save some money, learn something new. I didn't know how to begin, but I wanted to begin. I didn't know if it would really work, but trying felt better than waiting. I took a deep breath and said, one step at a time. That was enough for that day. Days went by and I followed my list. I found a small job in a coffee shop. I learned how to take orders, make drinks, and speak to customers. At first I felt tired and unsure, but slowly I became better. People smiled at me. They said, "Thank you." I felt useful for the first time in many years. I started to feel proud again. One night after work, I sat outside the shop and looked at the sky. The stars were bright. I smiled and thought of her again. I didn't know if I would ever meet her again, but I hoped that one day I could say, "Look, I changed, I didn't give up." I now understood that love needs support, care, and strength. I was learning how to give all of them. One morning, I woke up before sunrise. I made tea and sat by the window. The street was quiet, and the sky was still dark. I felt calm. I opened my notebook and looked at my list. Some things were already done. Some were still waiting. I smiled because I was moving ahead. Slowly but ahead. I started reading books about simple living and money. They were easy to read. I learned new ideas like spending less and saving more. I even wrote my thoughts in a journal. It helped me stay focused. I wanted to be ready if I saw her again. Not just for her, but for my own future. Working in the coffee shop taught me many things. I learned how to talk to people better. I saw people of all kinds. Some were happy, some were tired, some were quiet, like I used to be. I understood that everyone has their own story, and I was making mine one day at a time. After a month, I saved enough money to buy a used bicycle. It wasn't new, but it worked well. I felt proud riding it to work. It helped me save money, and I enjoyed the feeling of moving fast on my own. It was a small victory, but it meant a lot. It showed me that with effort, I could move forward. Sometimes I still remembered her words. Love is not enough. They used to hurt me, but now they helped me. They made me open my eyes. I didn't hate her for saying it. I was thankful. Her honesty was like a light. It showed me things I didn't want to see before. I used to live in a dream. Now I was living in the real world. One day, a friend at the shop told me about a free class. It was about basic computer skills. I said yes right away. I went 2 times a week after work. I was tired, but I liked learning something new. It made me feel alive. I was surprised that I understood everything well. Weeks passed and I finished the course. I received a small certificate. It made me very happy. I took a picture of it and sent it to my mother. She called me and said, "I'm proud of you." That made my eyes wet. I had not felt that way in a long time. I put the certificate next to my bed. Now I was not just a dreamer. I was taking action in my life. I still loved books, music, and quiet time. But I also liked this new version of me, a man with goals, a man who worked. I didn't know what would come next, but I wasn't afraid. I was ready to keep going. I was ready for more. It was a cold morning when I saw her again. I was walking to work, wearing my warm jacket and holding a cup of hot tea. She was standing at the bus stop, looking at her phone. I stopped for a moment. My heart beat faster. I didn't plan to talk to her, but something inside me said, "This is your chance." So I walked toward her and said, "Hello." She looked surprised, but she gave a gentle smile. We talked for a few minutes. She asked how I was. I told her I was working, learning, and doing better now. She said, "That's good to hear." Her voice was gentle, and her eyes were warm. I could see she was truly happy for me. We did not talk about the past. We did not talk about love. We were just two people sharing a small moment of our lives. It felt simple and calm, like a soft breeze. After that, I saw her a few more times around the city. Sometimes we waved, sometimes we spoke for a short minute. We didn't become close again, but that was all right. I no longer needed her to fill my whole world. I had my own path now, a better one. She was a part of my story, but not the whole story. That gave me peace and a feeling that I had grown. I was no longer the lost boy I used to be. At the coffee shop, my manager noticed how hard I worked. One day, he gave me more tasks. I started teaching new workers. I helped with bigger orders and learned how to handle the cash register. It felt good to be trusted. I began to think that maybe I could grow even more here. Not just work for money, but build something. I also started saving for a course in basic business skills. One weekend, I joined a small book club at the library. We read simple books and talked about them. I met new people who also wanted more in life. Some were young, some were older, but all were kind. I liked how they spoke and listened. I felt welcome there. It was another step forward. Another door opened just because I said yes to something new. I also made a plan for the next year. I wrote down my goals. I wanted to keep learning, save more money, and maybe find a better job. I wanted to feel proud of myself every single day. Not only sometimes. It was the first time I planned so far ahead. I wasn't scared of the future anymore. I was excited for it. That was a big change in me. Sometimes I still had bad days, days when I felt tired or unsure. But now I didn't run from them. I didn't hide behind my old thoughts. I faced them. I talked to a friend or took a walk. I wrote in my notebook or listened to music. I had tools now, simple tools that helped me stay strong. I learned how to care for my mind, not just my work. By the end of the year, I looked back at how far I had come from sitting alone with big dreams to standing tall with small wins. I still didn't have a car or a big house, but I had peace. I had a path. I had a better version of myself. That was more than enough. That was something true. And it all began with one moment, one girl, and one honest truth. One evening, when I closed the shop, my manager came to me. He smiled and said, You've done good work." I felt proud. Then he asked if I wanted to help open a new store. It wasn't a full promotion, but it was a big step. I quickly said yes. That night, I stayed awake thinking about the future and what could happen. The new store was small, but filled with hope. I met new co-workers and helped train them. We cleaned the place, set up shelves, and waited for the first customers. The days were long and a bit hard. We made mistakes, but we learned quickly. I started enjoying the work. Every day I felt stronger. I knew I was growing, even if slowly. I earned a little more money in the new role. It wasn't much, but it helped. I moved to a better apartment. It was small but clean and peaceful. I bought a desk, a chair, and a few books. It became my quiet place. I cooked for myself and sometimes for friends. Life still had problems, but it felt brighter. I was building it with my own hands. One night, I walked past the street where I first met her. It looked the same, but I didn't feel the same. I stopped and looked around. I smiled a little as I remembered that moment. I didn't feel hurt anymore, only calm. I turned and walked away. That part of my life had ended. I didn't need to go back. The lesson was enough. I began reading more about money and life. I watched videos and wrote down what I learned. Some days I didn't understand everything, but I didn't quit. I kept trying. I helped a friend start a small online shop. She was happy, and I felt proud. Sharing what I knew gave me new energy. I liked this new version of myself. I changed my mornings too. I woke up early and made tea. I sat down and wrote in my notebook. I wrote about my dreams, my worries, and my lessons. It helped me think clearly. I wrote letters to my future self. I wanted to remember this journey. I didn't want to forget how far I had come. Writing helped me grow. Now I had more than money. I had purpose. I had self-respect. I felt proud of who I was becoming. I no longer needed big things to feel happy. A walk, a good conversation, or a quiet night were enough. I didn't know all the answers, but I had hope, and that was enough to keep moving. One morning, I got a call from an old friend. We had not spoken in many years. He heard about my new job and wanted to meet. We sat in a small cafe and talked for a long time. He told me about his business and asked if I wanted to work with him. I didn't answer right away. I needed time to think. That evening I walked alone and asked myself what I truly wanted in my life. After 2 days, I made my choice. I said yes. We started working on a small project together. It wasn't easy in the beginning. We had different ideas, and sometimes we didn't agree, but we respected each other. We learned how to work as a team. Slowly, our project started to grow. We made a website and got our first customers. Every new order felt like a small win. We worked in a tiny room with old chairs and one table. We didn't have a big office or nice furniture, only big dreams, but we came every morning. We worked hard and always tried to do our best. Sometimes we stayed up late fixing problems or thinking of new ideas. It was hard, but I enjoyed it. I was doing something I believed in. After some time, we saved enough money to move into a bigger place. It wasn't very big, but it was ours. We painted the walls, put up shelves, and made it feel comfortable. We got help from people who believed in us. Some were friends and some were strangers. It felt good to know that people cared. I learned that support is stronger than money. During that time, I remembered the girl again. I thought about her words. Love is not enough. Before those words hurt me, but now I understood them. Love is important, but life also needs hard work, trust, and stability. I wasn't angry anymore. I felt thankful. Her words helped me change. Maybe that was the push I needed to grow.
What is one lesson from this story that connects with your own life? Share your thoughts below. Your story might help someone else learn too. I read every comment.